Okay, so the third type of entry is strategic alliance. And strategic alliances can take the form of joint ventures. And joint ventures can be resource oriented, meaning that we share the resources, meaning that they're equity oriented, or they can be non equity, meaning that you just collaborate on projects or certain things without really sharing your resources. Now, joint ventures are very interesting because a lot of the companies would rather do their own investment, they would rather go into a business on their own. But when they don't have the resources or the know how or the labor, the marketing know how, they usually will contact another company to help them to, to build their business somewhere else through a contract. And like I said, you have those contracts that are more resource oriented, where you share your equipment, your capital, your labor, resources, cash, financing, etc. And then there are those which are only by agreement, and it's just a collaboration that you have with other companies, and you really don't share resources as much, so the risk is also minimal. So an example of a strategic alliance is also Starbucks, and Starbucks started with licensing and also joint ventures in several countries. But really, what Starbucks wanted to do was eventually take control of its own company in those countries, especially in Japan and China, and buy back all that equity that was owned by a different company. And so, they started with a joint venture to get their foot in the door, get that know-how, and then once they get that know-how, then they buy out that company, and have their own location, that is U.S. controlled. Again, joint ventures require that companies, especially if it's equity, it requires companies to be in a relationship, and it could turn messy sometimes. But they can be very beneficial for both parties after they get from each other, what they need, which is usually resources and know-how. Now, the last type of entry is called foreign direct investment, or what is called manufacturing subsidiaries. So let's say that you have enough experience in a specific country, you know the culture, you know the economy, you have people who are well versed in creating these businesses, then you will have a company that will invest directly in another country by building a plant, having equipment there, etc. So the investment, the risk is a lot higher because now you're putting all of that investment into that country. And usually, what a company will want to get out of it is, of course, lower costs. Um, if there's a requirement in the local product, in the product that is local, there's a local need for specific material in the product. It's easier to do it when you're there. You also have the ability to gain raw materials if you're there. Connect with suppliers who can provide those materials for you. And really, the advantages for this particular mode of entry is to lower the costs of your investment. But there's also a very high risk that if anything happens, there's turmoil, there's political, economic, terrorism, or any other type of risk, that you can actually lose your investment. So companies are very careful to make sure that they go into countries they feel the most comfortable with, and they know their structure and their economic environments are a little bit more stable. So that's it for the four modes of entry. I hope you enjoy them.